We all know Wonder Woman, an Amazon princess, a warrior for peace, a founding member of the Justice League. But what if I told you the hero you think you know has a secret history, one so bizarre it was almost erased from the history books? A history so strange, so radical, so utterly different from every other hero of her time, that it's a miracle she ever became the icon she is today. This isn't just the story of the first major female superhero, this is the story of a social experiment, a psychological Trojan horse, smuggled into the hands of millions of children, disguised as a comic book. Picture the early 1940s, the golden age of comics. What comes to mind? Superman, punching out gangsters. Captain America, socking Hitler on the jaw. It was a world of black and white, good versus evil, where problems were solved with fists and might made right. The formula was simple. A villain shows up, the hero hits them until they stop, and then they're carted off to jail. End of story. But then, in the winter of 1941, something entirely different landed on the newsstands. Something weird. From the very first page, Wonder Woman was an outlier. When Superman faced a problem, he used his fists. When Wonder Woman faced a problem, she used her mind. Her creator, a brilliant and eccentric Harvard-educated psychologist named William Moulton Marston, had a vision that was light years ahead of his time. He saw the world's problems, war, crime, aggression as symptoms of a deeper sickness, a world dominated by unchecked masculine force. His solution, a new kind of hero. A hero who didn't just defeat her enemies, but sought to understand them, to reform them, to heal them. Think about that for a second. While other heroes were throwing bad guys in prison, Wonder Woman was sending them to a place called Reform Island. This wasn't a punishment camp. It was a rehabilitation center run by Amazons. The goal wasn't to break criminals, but to re-educate them in the Amazonian way of compassion, cooperation, and love. Marston called it loving submission. He believed that willingly submitting to a loving authority was the key to psychological happiness and social harmony. And in his comics, this wasn't some vague ideal. It was the central plot device. Villains, spies, and monsters would be captured, not to be locked away, but to be taught a better way of life. They would learn to overcome their own destructive impulses and find peace. Can you imagine a kid in 1942, expecting a simple punch-up, reading a story about therapeutic rehabilitation? It was completely unheard of. And then there's the lasso of truth, or as it was originally called, the magic lasso of Aphrodite. Today we see it as a cool lie detector and a handy rope, but for Marston, it was so much more. Marston was one of the inventors of the lie detector test, the real-life systolic blood pressure test. He was obsessed with the concept of truth and deception. For him, the lasso wasn't just a weapon, it was a tool of psychological liberation. When Wonder Woman wrapped it around someone, they were compelled to tell the truth. But it wasn't just about confessing their evil plans. It forced them to confront their own inner demons, their fears, their motivations. It was a form of instant psychoanalysis. In these early stories, the lasso often led to villains having a complete emotional breakdown, confessing their lonely childhoods or their twisted desires, before finally finding peace through honesty. The climax of the story wasn't a big fight. It was a moment of profound psychological catharsis. Let's talk about the feminism, because it was bold, explicit, and absolutely revolutionary for the 1940s. Marston was a vocal advocate for women's rights, and he poured all his beliefs into Wonder Woman. Paradise Island wasn't just a mythical home. It was a feminist utopia, a society where women had built a civilization superior to the world of men, free from war, greed, and inequality. When Diana comes to man's world, her mission isn't just to fight Nazis. Her primary goal, stated over and over again, is to spread Amazonian ideals and prove the superiority of a matriarchal society. In one incredible storyline, Wonder Woman actually runs for president in the year 3000. In another, she and her sidekick Etta Candy, who led a whole sorority of college girls called the Holiday Girls, would constantly outsmart and rescue their male counterparts. The men in these comics were often portrayed as bumbling, arrogant, or in constant need of saving. Steve Trevor, her love interest, was the classic damsel in distress, getting kidnapped, tied up, and rescued by Wonder Woman in almost every issue. Marston was deliberately flipping the gender script on its head, decades before it became a mainstream conversation. He believed that women were destined to rule the world, and he wasn't subtle about it. He wrote in one of his essays, "Frankly, Wonder Woman is psychological propaganda for the new type of woman who should, I believe, rule the world." He was telling an entire generation of young boys and girls that a woman could be stronger, smarter, and a better leader than any man. But if you think a feminist utopia and a psychoanalysis lasso were strange, you haven't seen anything yet. This is where the story goes from radical to downright bizarre. The comics were also filled with some of the most bizarre and surreal imagery of the Golden Age. There were kangaroo-riding Amazons on the moon, villains who controlled evil spirits with music, and an endless, almost obsessive, amount of scenes involving characters being tied up. Yes, the bondage theme in early Wonder Woman is impossible to ignore. Marston had a theory he called Marston's theory of emotions, which linked submission and bondage to positive psychological states. He believed that being bound, under the right circumstances, could be a liberating and even educational experience. So, nearly every issue featured Wonder Woman, her friends, or her enemies being chained, tied with ropes, or otherwise restrained. For her, escaping bonds was a metaphor for breaking free from the constraints of a male-dominated society. Her famous bullets and bracelets move, where she deflects bullets, was born from this. The bracelets were originally modeled on the jewelry worn by Marston's partner, Olive Byrne, and in the comics, they were called the bracelets of submission, a constant reminder to the Amazons of a time they were enslaved by men, and a symbol of their power to break free. So what does it all mean? A lie detector inventing psychologist, a feminist utopia, and a whole lot of chains. Why does this strange, secret history truly matter? She was the first superhero, period, to be conceived as a vehicle for complex, challenging, and deeply personal ideas. While other comics were offering simple escapism, Wonder Woman was offering a radical vision for a new world. Marston was using the medium to talk about psychology, political theory, and gender dynamics in a way no one else dared. He was pushing the boundaries not just of what a superhero could be, but of what a comic book could do. The action-hungry readers of the 1940s might not have fully grasped the psychological theories woven into every panel. They might have just seen a cool hero who could bend, steal, and fly an invisible plane. But the ideas were there, seeping into the subconscious of millions of readers. The idea that reform is better than punishment, that truth is a superpower, that women are strong, capable, and born to lead. Wonder Woman wasn't just a character. She was a message. A bold, strange, and beautiful declaration that the world could be better, and that the power to change it lay in compassion, truth, and the strength of women. The next time you see her on the big screen, remember her secret origin. Remember the psychologist who dreamed of a better world and the Amazon princess he sent to build it, one lassoed villain and one reformed soul at a time? The truth of Wonder Woman is far stranger and far more wonderful than you ever imagined. Thanks for joining me on this deep dive into comic book history. If you enjoyed uncovering this secret origin, smash that like button and subscribe for more forgotten stories from the world of superheroes. And don't forget to hit the notification bell so you never miss an episode. Now I want to hear from you. What's the most shocking part of Wonder Woman's secret history? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, and let me know which hero's hidden past I should uncover next. See you next time.